Hello, welcome back to Devcon. So I'm Robert Mao. So for this session, I'm going to introduce you the ABT Node, the next Dapp's platform. So we just released the technical preview version of the ABT Node a couple of weeks ago. I'm pretty excited to show you and demo you a few of the examples of what ABT Node is and what it can do. And actually, we also have a few other sessions by our engineers, which we're going to walk you through how to deploy the ABT Node in different environments. And also, we have another session, our engineers will guide you through how to develop the blocklets and applications on top of the ABT Node. And we also have a panel discussion from our cloud partners to discuss about how to deploy and run the ABT Node on the cloud environment. For this session, it's basically like an informational session. I just walk you through everything about the ABT Node. So let's get started. So just like most of the talks you're going to see for this Devcon, it's not going to be just the slides or kind of the theories. Instead, we see all those stuff with a live product. So it might be have some demo might broken. So demo guide is always there. Just bear with it. So this is the ABT Node. Unlike most of the other software, which is called a node, which is usually the terrible command lines. So usually whenever you talk about, you heard about some kind of node, you see all you need to start is from this command line. But it's different for ABT Node. For the ABT Node, we know that everybody needs simple and easy to use interface. So almost you can do everything from configuration to running to maintaining to updating, everything you can all do from the browser with a very easy to use web-based interface. So this is usually the first look when you come to the ABT Node. From the web browsers, it asks you to log in to the ABT Node, and it shows you a QR code. What is this? If you're already familiar a little bit about our what ArcBlock does, you might know this is called a DID auth. So basically, to log in, you don't need a username and password, but instead you use a decentralized ID to log in. In order to do that, you will need a decentralized identity wallet. So we have the ABT wallet. You need to download. If you don't have it, you can download it now in the iPhone App Store, or you can get from the Google Play. So I will demo with that with the iPhone. So in the iPhone App Store, iOS App Store, you can just search ABT Wallet. You will see this as already installed the app. So I just start the app. So unlike the other crypto wallet, which is mostly focused on manage your cryptocurrencies, ABT Wallet is mostly to focus on you to manage digital identities. So we are a very active player in the contributors in the W3C DID community groups. So we have the DID ABT protocol contributed, and we implement the DID in almost every product line in ArcBlock. So basically, this ABT wallet is the first place for you to manage your identities. So in this case, in my demo wallet, and I have my DID, and I also created 3 different type of profiles, right? One for series, the other 2 for testing. So this is typical, right? So it's to log in is pretty simple, right? So you just tap this corner, you get a QR code scanner. You scan the QR code, and then you instantly see you instantly see that it lets you to select different user profiles, right? So for example, I just select myself, I just swap it. After swap, so my ABT node logged in. Yeah, now I have a ABT node logged in, and you can see this is my profile, my photos here, and the first screen you see is the dashboard of the ABT node. You will see a few brief information to let you know. For example, it tell you that I have 10 blocklets installed, and 6 of them are running. I have one member, which is basically I have one member, and that's basically myself. And the node has been up for 4 hours. It has been created weeks ago, and it's also have a few information about the storage. And you see the DID, right? So the DID concept is basically everywhere. So my wallet basically manage my DID for myself. The node itself ID is a DID. And if you have the blockchain, all those blockchain address, that wallet address, and the digital asset, everything is DID. And in the left, there's a menu. And so the first menu you will see is Blocklet. So what is Blocklet? And what exactly is ABT Node? Right? You might think, what exactly is ABT Node? So ABT Node is essentially, it's a container and an environment for the blocklets. So here, you can see in this blocklet tabs, you will see all those blocklet I have installed. And each of those blocklet, you can see there's a version, there's installed. So when did it install? How long has it been up? What is the status? It's running or it's just installed and not yet running. And then there's action buttons. If you click on the action buttons, you can manage it, right? You can stop this blocklet if it is running. You can restart it. You can reload it. You can configure it. Right? For the blocklet which is just installed that is not running, you can basically try to start it. For example, for this blocklet, there's no start at all, but the only thing is config. I believe the reason is because this blocklet has some configuration that need you to config before it can run it, right? So you can see the details information of a blocklet. What is the overview of that? You might see each of the blocklet has its own DID, and you can see the disk information, runtime information, if it is run, if it is running, and many different type of blocklets, and we will try a few of them. So that's why what we called the ABT node is actually a container and an environment for blocklets. And you might ask, what exactly is blocklet? If you're familiar with ArcBlock's concept, so blocklet is a very important concept that we bring in since year 2017. Essentially, blocklet is a software architect and a framework that combines the serverless computing and microservice together. So you can imagine that ABT Node is basically like a special software that is containing different applications. And all those applications, those components, they call it blocklet. They can live on top of the ABT Node. So if we look at the ABT Node, you will find there's a Marketplace button. Once you click Marketplace, you will see many different blocklets that you can find from the Marketplace. But in this example, for this ABT Node, I already installed everything. Each of those ABT Node has already been installed. You might heard about the Blocklet Marketplace, which actually have a link on our website. If you come to the website, you will find even more blocklets listed here. If you look at each of those blocklet, they have different types. Some of the blocklet have the type called DApps, which means this blocklet is a complete applications. Once you install it, you're going to have the app installed on your node. That's the blocklets you can see here. All the blocklets listed in this marketplace are DApps types. But if you look at on the Blocklet website, which is blocklet.arcblock.io, you will see there's also a few other type of blocklets. Some of them called as starters. So what is starter? Starters is actually the scaffold project. This is imagine you can see this is actually a scaffold for the developers. They can just install these starters from this the starter blocklet, and then they get an empty project which is already up and running. So you don't need the configuration, you don't need to hook up a few different things, it's just up and running. So we have many different starters from for example, for React starters, Next starter, Keystone starters. Each of those starters basically use different popular frameworks to help developers easily to create a scaffold project so they can quickly get started, focus on their business logic. They don't need to worry about how to hook up the whole environment, how to get this kind of the fundamental configuration stuff done. Right? So as a developer, I sometimes feel painful when I need to learn a new technology. Every new technology, it has learning curves, but it's pretty sometimes it's pretty stressing if you have to do a lot of housekeeping works to get a hello world stuff done. Right? So all those starter projects, it just makes it much easier for developers to get the starter hello world application up and running within the ABT node and ABT ArcBlock's blockchain environment. So you just get a starter project quickly. You have something that is already up and running, and then you just focus on how to build your business logic, how to build your own user interface. That just makes things much easier. So once you finished one of the apps, blocklets, you can deploy it locally. So that's important because for developers, you don't need to. You can immediately install the blocklets to your node in your dev box. So you can try it. And after you finish that, you can send that to the Blocklet Marketplace. So probably you will see the first blocklet listed here is called a blockchain. Is called a blockchain manager here. So blockchain manager is actually something that we created for you on the running on ABT node to let you quickly and easily create blockchains. So actually ABT nodes runs blockchain nodes, right? Don't get confused because the the concept of a node is very popular in the computing world. So in the internet, there are a lot of things called a node, like the network servers, a computer, a routers, all of those can call node. Right? In the blockchain world, the node could be a validators. It could be one of the nodes that have the full ledgers. It also could be so-called a light node, which is basically essentially just an application or essentially just a wallet. So node is actually anything that in the network. Right? So the ABT node itself, ABT node itself is not a blockchain node. It's a container. But on top of the ABT node, you can run the blockchain node. So I'm going to show you how. So in the marketplace, the first blocklet we have is Blockchain Manager. So already installed, and I just click and open it. So actually right now, my Blockchain Manager is already up and running. I click on the admin interface. I will see the Blockchain Manager show me actually right now there's no blockchain running at all. So all I need to do is just to create a new blockchain. So creating a new blockchain, we have two different modes. One is called advanced mode. In the advanced mode, you have a lot more for you to configure. But for most of developers, especially when they get started, they might not want to understand all those kind of different configurations. They just need to immediately, quickly create something for the test. So we have this kind of a instant create mode. All you need to do is just give a name. For example, I just use a default my chain, and you can give a token name. You can give a token symbol, and now you are almost ready to create a new blockchain. Here, there's a button, create moderators. What is moderator means? If you have ever created one of the blockchain node, like Ethereum or Bitcoin before, usually when you create a blockchain, create a chain, we're going to ask you generate a key pairs. So that's basically private key and public key pairs for you to manage that blockchain. So same thing applies here. But usually when you do those kind of key pair creating, there's always a problem. For example, if you just create for test, you might don't really save and manage those key pairs better, good enough. Some of them, some of the developers might just take for granted, and then they eventually might have lost the key pairs. So once they lost the key pairs, either if you forgot about it, you don't know, you don't have it in control, then you probably have no control of that blockchain anymore. But if you are if you have it, but that private key pair is leaked, and then somebody else can use that to take advantage of your blockchain, right? So it's really always important to manage these kind of private keys. So when we created the moderators, you will see the familiar interface coming out. So this is basically what we do is we realize that managing those keys, they're troublesome. So we use ABT wallet for you to manage it. All you need to do is basically you just do the same thing. You scan this QR code. Once you scan the QR code, you swipe it, boom. You have a moderator key created, and this moderator key is safely managed in your ABT wallet. You don't need to worry about it getting lost. You also don't need to worry about it getting leaked. And it's always in your ABT wallet, managed for you. So I just hit create, and it takes a few seconds for it starting to create a blockchain. And now the blockchain is created, and if I don't need to do anything, I just start the blockchain, and in a few seconds, this blockchain is going to be up and running. Let's just give it a few seconds and for the blockchain to spin up. There we go. So now we have the blockchain up and running. If I click on this list view, I will see my chain has been created. So this block height is actually increasing, and its status is running. Right? For this action here, I can stop it. I can open Explorers. If I click the Block Explorers, boom, I instantly see a Block Explorer is up and running, and it has blocks is increasing. I don't have any transaction yet, and for this is a moderator. I just signed. I just generated with my ABT wallet, and the moderators has the initial token has been issued to them, and this is just a test chain. So this node is actually running on my MacBook Pro. So there's only one validator for this one. So this is perfect for developer environment. So you might interested why there is a Block Explorer. Where is a Block Explorer come from? So Block Explorer is so important, right? So for Ethereum, for Hyperledger, for Bitcoins, if you create a blockchain, there is no Block Explorer at all. All you need to do, you need to either install and run a Block Explorer by yourself, or you have to use some public available Block Explorers. For example, Ethereum, it has Etherscan. For the ArcBlock, we also have the ArcBlock Global Universal Block Explorers. So for example, this is our explorers, which is basically showing that one of the blockchain that we're running. If you click on these buttons here, it's going to show up a blockchain selector for you to select different blockchain to view. You can also have it customized. If you run your own blockchain, you can point this Block Explorer to your customized blockchain. So this is the Block Explorer. This is the public available deployed block store that run by ArcBlock ourselves. But for here, you actually, since ArcBlock's blockchain framework lets you very easily to create and deploy blockchain within a few clicks. You probably need your own blockchain explorers, right? So you already see we launched the blockchain block explorers here, but where it's come from? Because it's come in here, right? The block explorer, blockchain explorers, is actually a blocklet. So this blocklet will show up here. I already installed the blocklet, and then all my blockchain I created actually going to have the blockchain explorers that is basically running on this node. That basically means, what does it mean? It means ABT node is not only a node that runs blockchains, it also runs applications, right? ABT node run blockchain nodes. ABT nodes also run applications. So there's many different type of applications, right? We already see we launched the block explorers. If we come to the Blocklet Marketplace, you will find many different kind of applications. For example, we have GraphQL Playground, and we have blockchain boarding gate. There are all kind of different applications that you can try. So let's just try one. For example, we have this static blocklet, demo blocklet, which is a very, very simple blocklet. If you click and run it, oh, it's actually a HTML-based game. So this is a very simple demo that our developers just use this kind of a very popular free game, and then make it a blocklet. And this blocklet is actually running on this blockchain, on this ABT node. So that probably give you a brief idea of what is ABT node, right? So ABT node is a container of the blocklets. So the blocklets, they're actually small applications. They are serverless and microservice-based, architect-based applications. Those applications can bring you rich features. One of the important features is the blockchain managers, right? So the blockchain manager blocklet lets you create a blockchain on top of the ABT node. And now, right now, my ABT node, which is running on my MacBook Pro, it's an ABT node, and it runs multiple different blockchains. And one of them is actually creating a blockchain and running on my computer. I can work against, if I need to develop a blockchain applications, starting to writing applications on this blockchain, I can do it now. Something more interesting is I have one blockchain here. Actually, I can create another blockchain. Let's just do it. Let's just do the same thing. I give it the moderators. Now I have moderators. I just give it a different name. If I try to create, it will tell me, boom, the chain name is already taken. I just give it a different name, my token 1, and my TP1. So now I have another blockchain. Just create it. In a couple of seconds, I have another blockchain created. Let me just start it. So now if you look at the blockchain manager, see I have two blockchains. One is already running. Another one is actually right now, it is starting. Yeah, in a couple of seconds, it's actually running. Now I have two different blockchains. Actually, each of these blockchain has its own block explorers up and running. As you can see, I have the my chain 101 is also running. And the my chain, so there's two different chains, they are all running. So what that means, so if you're familiar with ArcBlock's blockchain framework, you might notice that we have a very unique feature. We believe the future of the blockchain is not one public chain, is not consortium chains or enterprise chains, which are all walled gardens. We believe the future of the blockchain are many interconnected blockchains. To make the blockchain interconnected, the developers, they need an environment, a very simple environment, for them to have many blockchains. right? So for the ABT node, you can very easily to create multiple blockchains on your one single node. As long as your computer is powerful enough, you can create many different blockchains in just one dev box, and you can create cross-chain applications, cross-chain communications, just in one dev box. So that just makes things much easier. In the real deployment environment, you might also need this, because on the real deployed environment, you might need to have some kind of a node which is basically connected to different blockchains, so that make your cross-chain communication much easier. And so this is also useful in the real deployment environment. So essentially, ABT nodes just make it much easier for the developers to create an environment for them to develop blockchains. It's also making it much easier for the DevOps in the future, because you can deploy the blockchain in production mode with ABT node. So right now, ABT node is a technical preview stage. So that basically means the developers can already develop applications on the ABT node, but the whole ABT node itself is not yet for the production. So our plan is going to release the first production release in a couple of weeks after we finish the DevCon. So it's very close. You might think, okay, you show me the ABT node. It's really simple, right? But how to launch it? Right? So launch ABT node is really simple. So let's first show you how to launch it on the development computer, right? So developing computers. So right now, this blockchain, this ABT node here, I just show you, is something that I created in my MacBook Pro. So let me just show you how to do it. So unfortunately, if you need to create a dev environment, you're going to need the command line. So, but the command line is just quite simple. All you need to do is just npm i-g abt node CLI. So this command line going to install a command line interface of the ABT node. Of course, in your developing environment, you need to set up the Node.js and the npm environment before you are able to install this. So we're going to have a technical talk session by our engineers to walk you through how to install the ABT node, how to troubleshooting, and if you hit any problem for when you try to install this environment. So for here, I just run this command line and give you an idea how it works. Yeah, so it takes a few seconds or minutes, depends on your network connections, and so just remember that all you need to do is just the one command line, npm i-g abt node, and now it's actually installed. So you might see those kind of warnings, and don't worry about those warnings. So it doesn't matter. And once you see the ABT node CLI, and you're going to have ABT node, you're going to have a new command line called ABT node up and running. If you run the ABT node, it's to show you a few command lines, right? So don't worry about worry about those. There's not a lot of command line that you actually need most of the time. The most important one is, if you get started, you first need to ABT node initialize. You basically initialize something so that you're going to be prompt for a few. For example, if you you need to give it a name, you need to give a description, and once you initialize ABT node, all you need to do is ABT node start. Once you have ABT node start, you're going to have this web interface, and then you start from here, right? So launching launch the ABT node on the development computer is really easy. Just the one command line, you have it, and then you take over from the website. And if you want to launch the ABT Node on a cloud platform is basically essentially the same. Right? If you can get like an EC2 instance in the cloud computing platform like AWS, and then you can take control. You can SSH it to it, and then you can install. Right. So same thing. And then once you install that, right, you're going to have the web interface. But is this cool? No, I don't think this is cool because you're going to, having this kind of command line is not fun, right? So yeah, our developers also think this is not cool. So we build a blocklet for it. So I already have this blocklet installed. It's called ABT Node Launchers. So if I click on these ABT Node Launchers, and I can run this ABT Node Launchers, I will see, okay, I'm going to, okay, already have 3 AWS-based ABT Node instance here. All those nodes they're stopped. Let's try, if you need to launch a new one, you just click on the launch node. When you click on the launch node, you're going to be able to select from the different cloud providers. Right now, AWS is only provider we already support it, but the Windows Azure, Upawin, and Oro and more partners are coming soon. Right? In the future, you will quickly be able to select from different cloud providers. And if, for example, let's just try with the AWS. You hit it next. You're going to select. Which region you're going to launch. After you select the region, it's going to navigate you through what kind of version you want to launch and what kind of instance do you want to select. And then all you need to do is hit the launch button. Once you hit the launch node, boom, it's going to, in a few minutes, it's going to be able to launch our ABT node. I'm not going to launch a node here because usually launch an instance take a little bit of a while. But actually, I already have a few nodes up and running here. I can just they're stopped, right? So for those nodes, I can take actions for that. For example, I can say hit start. Once I hit start, so that instance going to get started and get the ABT node up and running. In a few seconds, we will be able to access that node. And actually, I can start another node. Right? So basically, with ABT node launchers, we just make it really, really easy for you to manage the nodes on the cloud environment. So let's just click on this one. Now you see this is the ABT node that basically in the EC2 environment, all I need to do is just use my cell phone to log in, and the same thing happened. So when I log in, okay, I see this ABT node here. This is actually one of the nodes I just launched that is up and running in AWS. And if I look at, okay, I have another one I just launched. If I click on here, you see there's an ABT node that up and running on another EC2 box. But you might say, wait, so this is a little bit different, right? Because this ABT node is a brand new ABT node. I didn't even set it up. Usually this is first screen when you start ABT node in the cloud environment. Remember that when we are doing that on the development box, you have a command line called ABT node initialize. So that is the place for you to enter a few configurations. But for the cloud environment, it instantly gives you to this interface. All you need to do is use a cell phone to scan it, and you log in with a DID, and then it lets you set up a few small things. For example, you set up, you name it, and then complete setup. Boom. You get a brand new empty ABT node that is running on EC2. And you see there's no blocklet here. If you need to install a blocklet, just click install, and you can select any blocklet you want, right? So let's just install the game blocklet we just played. So It's installed. Within a click, it is installed. I can open it. I can see the details of it. And it is installed but not yet running. I just start it. It's now up and running. And now once it's up and running, it's actually going to provide me an interface for me to provide the service. I know there's we might not have the port open up yet, so it's not going to show up here, unfortunately. But it's just to give you the concept. It's very easy to get it started. Let's just close this up. So that's what it showed, that launching the ABT node on our cloud environment is really simple. Right? We provide the tool. You don't need the command line to it anymore. And I can show you something even more interesting, is launching on an embedded device. Here I have on my hand is a Raspberry Pi. So ABT node is actually designed to be able to run on those kind of small, tiny embedded devices. So of course, in this kind of embedded device, you don't expect to run a blockchain node here, but instead you cannot run a blockchain full node here, but instead you can write a light node. For example, you can have an application, which is a wallet, or which is an application that listens on the blockchain and sending transactions, verify transactions, it just work here. Right? So in this Raspberry Pi, I used a very nice service called Balena Cloud. So this Balena Cloud does is basically it provides a web interface for me to connect to this Raspberry Pi, so I can basically do whatever, so it just makes things much easier for me to manage. Right? So for this Raspberry Pi, I have a ABT node already up and running here, and it has this IP address. Let me just show you there. So here, yeah. So this is the IP of this Raspberry Pi, and I connected here. You can see this very familiar user interface. It's the ABT node on the Raspberry Pi. It's a Raspberry Pi 4B, which is not a very powerful Raspberry, but it works pretty well. So right now, for example, in this case, my Raspberry Pi does not have any blocklet running, and let's try to run that simple blocklet and see if it works on the Raspberry. So I just hit install the blocklet. So this static demo blocklet is installing, and okay, I should, yeah. So unfortunately, I forgot to switch the screens. You probably didn't see the Raspberry's interface, and you also didn't see the Balena Cloud interface. I just show you here. So let's just repeat a little bit. So with this Balena Cloud service, I'm able to connect to this Raspberry Pi with a very nice web interface. And on this web interface, I installed the ABT node on this Raspberry Pi, and this is the IP address that it showed me. And I navigate to this address. I have this ABT node up and running, and I just install this static demo, and I can open this demo, open this blocklet. I see this static demo blocklet is up and running. I start it, and I click on it. Boom! I have this game up and running, and which is served from this Raspberry Pi ABT node. Is it simple? Yeah, it's pretty simple, right? So you might think about what's in the future, right? So it's very easy to launch an ABT node with a command line on your dev box. And we have a Blocklet, which provides the web-based interface for you to easily launch in your cloud environment if you have the cloud account. If you have embedded devices, you can deploy ABT node on the embedded devices, and then you take control of what kind of blocklet to run on that embedded device just by web interface. Can it be simpler? The answer is yes. If you know our vision that we released since year 2017, we have this concept called resource miners. The resource miner is basically with the power of the cryptocurrency and the blockchain, you can basically use a cryptocurrency as a token, as a digital token, to have the right to launch and take control of the ABT node that is provided by the miners. It hasn't been there yet, but Rome is not built in 1 day. So we build our blockchain, we build the ABT node, and we make the launch much easier. And the next step is going to, from here, the next step, we're going to providing the miner softwares. That is also a kind of a blocklet running our ABT node to let the miner to create a better service for the users to quickly launch the ABT node from the resource miners. That is not there yet, but it's coming soon. When we talk about the resource miners, you might remember there's another miner type called the component miners. What component miner is? You already see there's all kind of these blocklets here, but all those blocklets right now, they're created by ArcBlock. But our vision is you're going to have much bigger blocklet marketplace that created by a lot of people, right? So any developers, any company, they can create their own blocklet, and they can decide to share the blocklet with others. They can just put that blocklet into the marketplace, and then you can quickly install the blocklet. It's really up to the developer to decide if this blocklet is going to be free, or is this blocklet you're going to pay a few token or pay a few money for the blocklet. Or they can use a revenue sharing model. For example, you can run the blocklet, run the dApps by yourself, and then you share the revenue with them. This isn't possible if there is no blockchain and a token economic framework behind it. Because if you just run that on the traditional infrastructure, try to use a credit card payment system, try or use a bank system, it's not just that easy to work, because you have multiple parties running the applications. It's really hard, right? For today, if you install the application on iPhone App Store, you can pay to the Apple, and then Apple share revenue to the developers. But just because Apple is a big company, everything is tightly controlled with Apple, right? Even Apple spent years to be able to figure this out, to negotiate with different payment channels. But with the blockchain, this becomes amazing. There's multiple parties can participate in this space, and they don't need to be all controlled by one company, because everybody can trust on the blockchain, and the blockchain can at least facilitate the payment and the revenue sharing and the license control, all with the blockchain itself. And the Blocklet Marketplace is decentralized. Even though today, when you see this blockchain, when you see the Blocklet Marketplace is running by ArcBlock, this is just because of the beginning. In the setting page, you can easily change the Blocklet registry to any other Blocklet registry. I can totally see in the future, you can have the Blocklet Marketplace, which is running by ArcBlock. You can also have marketplace that is running by community. If you are in a company, in an enterprise, you can have your own private Blocklet Marketplace that is, have your hand-select applications or in-house built blocklets that allow the users to use. So essentially, Blocklet Marketplace is decentralized. We designed this in the decentralized way. It's not something that we want to control just like the App Store. Instead, it's a protocol. Right? We provide a default one, and you can run by your own. And the future of the blocklet is that we have just mentioned, it's a component miners. Once we have this blocklet economic up and running, we encourage everybody. You can create your own blocklet, and then you can share the blocklet with different blocklet marketplace. You can even have your own blocklet marketplace and as long as you have your users, right? So right now it's just the beginning, and but we believe the future is coming. The blocklet, the component miners. So with so ArcBlock miner is very different concept than Ethereum or Bitcoin, because the miners does not actually need to do heavy lift hash computing, which doesn't make any sense in this kind of application-based blockchains. Instead, the resource miners, they provide the ABT node resource. So you can get an ABT node from the miners on the fly, and you pay them, and they're going to provide they're going to provide a resource for you, which is ABT node. And for the component miners, they're mining with their brain, right? So they just create a very nice dApps that you need to use, or they create a reusable component. You want them to use them in your software, and then they get paid, or they get a revenue share. So that's a new concept that we bring, and also ABT Node. We envision this ABT Node is for everyone. So as you have seen, the ABT Node is a completely web-based user interface, and you don't really need rocket science technology. You don't even need to be a developer to run the ABT Node for yourself. Everything is web-based. And you might think, why do I need a node? You probably don't need a node, but it really depends up to you, right? So when there's more and more blocklets, more and more interesting applications, and when the ABT node is really very easy to acquire, very easy to up and running, it's really convenient for the users that you instantly launch a node and you run some application on that node, and you store your data on your DID, decentralized ID backed secure storage. You don't actually need to depend on anybody, right? Imagine today, if you have your Google emails, Google Gmails is actually all hosting and running on Google. Right? All your social network is basically on Facebook. But in the future, if you have this personal controlled ABT node or this kind of decentralized applications and decentralized data storage, you don't need, so there's nobody else in control. You have complete control of your node, of your data, of your identity. So that's what we think ABT node is actually for everyone. So right now the user interface is better, but we know it's not perfect yet. We'll continue working hard to make the user interface much easier and easier, to make it much easier. And last, and also the most important, the future will be defined by you, the developers. As we mentioned in our first ever video and our white paper, we think the ArcBlock is a whole ecosystem, and the ecosystem need not just us. We're just kicking started. Right? So we build the ABT node, we build the blockchain framework, we build this everything. This is just a Kickstarter. So we just provide the foundation, and we need you to come together to create more applications, create more blocklets, and to contribute the blocklet to the marketplace. Right? And then you share the whole ecosystem, you share the revenue, and you share the awareness of everything that is backed by the blockchain technology and backed by this token economic. The future of the decentralized application and the future of the ArcBlock is actually defined by you. We're just here to kickstart it. Thanks.